Hey y'all. Hey. Welcome to the Octavia Butler mixtape course. Tonight we are wrapping up Butler's Imago. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We have made it to an end of another series. Can y'all believe that? I think I want this light off. We have made it to the end of another series. We've made it to the end of, almost the end of Butler's works. How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. This is my thinking sweater, y'all. I love putting this sweater on every time I come on this TikTok live with y'all. But how y'all doing? I'm super excited. Did y'all see that I posted the the part 4 of the Butler mixtape course? I posted that today. So I did, we're here for a little bit longer. When I started to segment out the readings, I noticed that we needed to spend more time with with Fledgling. That's the next book we're reading. We needed to spend more time with Fledgling, so I needed to spend that out over 3 weeks. And then I didn't want us to try to rush through all of these stories. Y'all know what I'm saying? Because she has like 7 short stories. So I didn't want us to try to jump through, I think 9 short stories. 12 novels, 9 short stories. One of the two, 7 or 9. I didn't want us to try to hurry up and finish reading them. So I did want us to have time with each short story as we read them. So if you didn't already, please go ahead and check out the Substack for the part 4 of the course so that you can have time to read it. Next week, y'all know how it goes. After every series, we take a break. So we're done with this series. We're taking a break and then we'll circle back the week after next and start Fledgling. Joya said, are we reading unexpected stories? I don't have unexpected stories on the syllabus. The unexpected stories were the posthumously published works. I didn't plan to read those. I didn't plan to read those, to be honest. I didn't even think of them or consider them. Is that something y'all would want to do? I think they should be available on Amazon if y'all just wanted to read it for yourself. I think it's 2 or 3 stories. I don't remember. I've only read Unexpected Stories, the novella, once. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit from Scholarship on Butler as we wait for more people to hop on. If you want to come on up, hit the 2 people. I wanted to, when I was looking for something to share tonight, I went through 3 books. I went through Star Child, right? This is a book written, dedicated to Butler. I went through Octavia's Brood, and then I went through Strange Matings, right? But I just felt like Canavan's work, his scholarship, was more important because based on the questions that people had. Thank y'all for the gifts. Please like the video. Based on the questions that people had on the Substack thread for the chat, I felt that Canavan could shed some light on some of the questions that people have. So we're going to start with Canavan. I'm anxious and excited to hear y'all's thoughts. So let me start with Canavan. I'm going to read a little bit. It's going to be a page and a half, y'all. So listen up, put your listening ears on and bear with me as I read this. This is the section called Against Utopia, from Canavan's book. He says, and this is a direct quote, he says, I don't write about utopian fiction, Butler said, because I don't believe imperfect humans can form a perfect society. But this tells only half the story. Butler longed to write utopian fiction, fix the world scenarios, and was stymied despite her need to write them by, she said, the sad fact that I don't believe in them. Don't believe humanity is fixable. So that kind of goes into what y'all were saying, like, does Butler hate humanity? Like, does she believe in us or not, right? Well, here in direct quotes, Canavan is saying that Butler wrote in the archive that she doesn't believe that humanity is fixable. Um, Canavan continues, the Owen Collie stories laid out the terms of this lack of belief. Butler believed the notion of the human contradiction she laid out in the books was basically the correct diagnosis, and returned to it repeatedly in interviews and in her personal journals over the course of her life. But she felt the Owen Collie did not solve the problem. I'm not sure I really managed what I set out to do. I wound up with a somewhat different hierarchical system, chemically controlled as with DNA, but instead a pheromone. Even setting aside this darker tale on the trilogy, Canavan writes, which sees the Owen Collie as embodying the same human contradiction, the Owen Collie can't offer a genuine solution to the human contradiction because they are not themselves human and they have what amounts to magical powers to boot. How might humans improve their situation? How might humans in the human context become better without the cheat of divine intervention? Butler saw herself not as a sociobiological reductionist, so much as a sociobiological realist. She writes, I do think we need to accept that our behavior is controlled to some extent by biological forces, and was interested in seeking out ways we might work around our programming. After Imago, Butler began to work on a new project that imagined a world where empathy had become contagious, had become a communicable disease. In one version, it is even something like an STD. A character gives it to her grapist, who afterward will never be able to grape anyone again because they would feel the victim's terror and pain. If you could feel another person's suffering, really feel it, wouldn't you have to behave decently to them, if only for your own self-preservation? She called the plant novel justice, and sometimes the justice plague. And at first, the scenario seemed to her as if it would create a utopia. The point, Butler said later, years after she had abandoned the first version of the idea, was to create, in a fiction at least, a tolerant, peaceful civilization, a world in which people were inclined either to accept one another's differences or at least to behave as though they could accept them, since any act of resentment they could commit would be punished immediately. But the idea couldn't come together in the way that she had hoped, and it certainly never congealed into utopia. The existence of boxing and football taught her that the threat of shared pain wouldn't necessarily make people behave better toward one another, while a literally contagious empathy might well destroy any possibility of necessary care work, as in the healthcare profession. And there were other problems. It's always possible, for instance, to pay people to take more pain than you're willing to take. The Justice book never jailed. She abandoned the project when she felt it becoming a disaster like Blindside. But the idea would linger as she moved on to the books that would not only set out to solve the problem of the human contradiction, but would define the later phase of her career. These would be the books about a young girl, Lauren Olamina, who is afflicted with a birth defect not unlike her version of the contagious empathy, hyperempathy, feeling another person's pain. The Parable series, while never finished, would reflect Butler's most audacious attempt to hijack the problem of the human contradiction and rewrite our bad biological programming, this time using a revolutionary new religion as the viral code. So the reason why I wanted to read that was because we all know that sometimes Butler's series feel unfinished, right? We do know that Parable of the Trickster was definitely was never finished due to Butler's perceived failure with Imago. I was trying to think of the book's name. And so it kind of killed her creativity. But she did go on to write the Parable series, which we read before. So the end of the book, from what I could tell from Butler's notes, was supposed to look differently. When she had wrote herself into a corner of sorts, she did not have, I don't want to say the courage, but the creativity to rewrite this story. And then she didn't want to abandon another story at this point. So she kind of went with what she had. So it wasn't perfect. I did share in the last class that she did want to have this book stationed on Mars. Um, we didn't get there. We didn't get to see the humans up there, and she did want them to be able to the humans to be able to reproduce without the Owen Collie. She didn't get there either. So um, this is what we got. We are at the end of the Xenogenesis trilogy, and I'm excited to hear what y'all think about Imago. We need some more people up here, up if y'all want to come up. Tina, Yash, hey.
Hey, so here's why I know that Octavia Butler is brilliant. Is that I hated this book, but I couldn't put it down. I hated the characters, I hated stuff, and I was just not. It's a lot. I got a lot to say about it, but I realized because I'm reading like three books at the same time. So after I finished reading this one, I was reading the other books. I'm like, these other books just suck. They're so bad, and I'm
Oh,
angry because I'm like, I'm like, Butler, how do you write so well that I'm captivated by it, and it's got all these emotions coming up for me. And the other books, I'm just like, shut up, and I'm like rushing through pages because I don't want to read the 5 pages of description.
shut up
Okay,
is insane.
just like it's crazy. I'm sorry. This last part of this book, honestly, what I felt was it just I'm sorry I'm saying it and I'm gonna say the D word here, but I just felt like this is like the way that what is his name? Aro, the
Oh,
brother
Ayor.
Aor. The way that he acted when he found like they could be humans, I just was like, it was a major trigger for me. I was just like, this is so like the whole thing with consent has been bothering me this whole like especially this whole series to a certain extent, and the more we get into it, the more we come into it, it's just blatant. And it's like you guys are just, you all and Kylie are justifying very crazy behavior to me. It's just it's like you're justifying all the rest of it. I was so disappointed in Lilith. I was so disappointed in her. I was like, girl, you just gave up. You weren't even trying to fight anymore. You just like and then you had an attitude. I'm like, okay, mm-mm, uh-uh. Like I said, I was not. I'm not as articulate as I want to be because I have so many emotions about just the way the characters played out was so vivid that it emotionally touched me, and the fact that it just reminded me, like the whole thing with Doro's thing is like you're gonna do what I want you to do, and you're just gonna have to accept it and deal with it. That theme just kept coming back over and over and over again. And every time Butler like proposed, oh, this particular, it was Akeem or Nakchak or somebody else is gonna be reasonable. They never got past a certain threshold. They justified the horrific stuff that was happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
Mhm.
I just that was crazy to me. And the whole, and even the thing with it was interesting because like at the end of this book, when you realize, okay, so they have genetically, created these created these like non, the third sex, they genetically created
Uloy.
the orloid. They genetically created the orloid
Mhm.
so that they would have better interaction with humans. So now they got strong enough pheromones, they don't need to gas you.
Mhm.
You just got to be around me for a while and you're going to just do what I say.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot.
Okay. Point taken. All right. And I'm gonna ask everybody this after y'all gave y'all 2 cents. Tina, which series was your favorite?
Oh, this is my favorite.
Okay,
Like,
this is my
like
favorite.
this one, I like this one in the Pattern Master. I don't know. I don't know. I really liked, I liked it. I liked it. I hated it so much that I liked it.
Okay.
I don't know if
Okay.
I'm saying.
I think that's fair though. I think that's fair. I think it's fair. Yes.
Woo wee! I know I got something to
Are
say.
you in the park?
I'm almost at the park. I'm almost there. I'm gonna go sit under my tree and yell about these aliens in a second. I just want to say, for starters, I feel like vindicated or something because last week in the chat, everybody was like, I thought that this book was going to be on Mars. And like, they were kind of upset about it not being on Mars. But Octavia Butler struggled with putting humans in space.
Mhm.
That, like, so I'm not really upset that this story wasn't about Mars. Um, because I feel like every story that she tried to write about humans on another planet was just, she was just trying to rehash Survivor. Like, we're
Yeah.
arguing about the same things on another planet. So that's why we like never really got there, because like you just said and the man said, like, Octavia Butler didn't really believe in humanity enough to actually write the story to take us there. And I started feeling that after I finished Parable of the Talents, and then I was like, well, what was Trickster going to be about? And then it was just like, oh, well, she was trying to put us in space and she failed, like how she did with Survivor.
Yeah.
As far as the book goes, I actually liked Imago.
Hmm.
I know that like it wasn't everybody's favorite, but I appreciated it being written in first person, because instead of the aliens being like a mystery or us trying to like rely on a narrator that may or may not be reliable, we got Jodas's like his his it was first person, so we experienced everything as he was experiencing it, and it made me like kind of understand the Owen Collie side of things more. um the Owen Collie, they're just predators, and I think that they messed up, like I was saying last week, they messed up by mating with the humans, because now they have this hybrid species, but there are still parts of humanity that is still being like spread within the hybrid species too. I'm sure that they couldn't control Jodis, even though I think Nakanj made him on purpose. But then on top of that, like Aor being like kind of messed up in the beginning, like it, I don't know. It's just very interesting to see like how they thought about things or how they reacted to things when they weren't in control. And I feel like that was the Owen Collie's like, that's like their whole thing. Like they're so advanced that they can control everything, but now like they've they've made it with a species that they kind of can't control or that they kind of can't understand. So like I wish that there was like an epilogue or a book after this to explain like what happened,
Like, what you think
because
will happen?
now like the way that the book ended, Jodis is just on Earth with the people on Earth, and then it's like, okay, then what? Like, are there going to be, were there more construct Uli? Did they end up staying on Earth? Did Earth eventually die? Did they evolve again and turn into something else? Like, that was the part where I was just like, damn, like I wish that, she gave us more of a conclusion.
Yeah.
But I thought of Jodis as being complete, just like how Mary was complete.
Yeah.
Jodis was like the most evolved version of them, and he could be anything. He could be anything that he needed to be to catch people.
I think what's implied is that Jodis will plant a town, right? He will plant the town. The Owen Collie will watch. They're going to leave Earth to the humans and the construct Uloi. There will be Owen Collie who want to mate with the Uloi construct in this new place, but the OG, I don't want to say the OG, but I guess the older Owen Collie, they will leave in the ship. I think that's what's implied by the end of the story. So they're going to leave Earth they're going to leave the resistor humans on Mars. They're going to leave Earth to the Uloi construct, and then they're going back on their ship and they're going elsewhere. I think that's what's kind of implied. Um, But I do understand what you mean. Like we didn't get the tie up that we necessarily needed.
Yeah, and I'm kind of used to not having the tie up at this point, but I feel like she left us at such a weird cliffhanger because in the end the book said like, oh, there are other construct uli popping up, and Jodas's metamorphosis went great, but Aor almost didn't make it through theirs. So I'm wondering like what's going on with the other construct uli, like why are they popping up, why are they so unstable, like I want to know more about them now, but we're not gonna get that, and that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, and I think what I was thinking about when we were learning about the other construct is that the genes were ready to express themselves in the construct Uloi children, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when they got news that there were two more, it is not something that the Uloi are intentionally doing. I think the genes had just matured enough that they began to just take on a life of their own. That's how I kind of read it. And so at that point, the Oankali have no control over this natural reproduction phase of the Uloi. And the Uloi doesn't have control either.
What I thought about both the Uloi that were popping up and the fertile human was evolution.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because like I mean, because you got to remember all of this didn't happen like in 5 days or 10 years or something like that. It happened over centuries. They were on Earth after they came back. They had been there for a while. So I think that this is a sign of evolution.
Point taken. Tai Chi, Shanadi, hey.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. A couple things. I agree with everybody on what they said about how she left us. And I don't like nice tie ups in books or series, movies, any media. I don't really like nice tie ups. But how you leave is important. And I felt like I had a lot of questions because I think that whole Mars colony is a plot set up by Todd. I don't think it's real, and I wanted somebody's perspective from somebody who's been there, right?
Oh, I see.
I
Mm-hmm.
feel as though like they gave everyone Earth knowing that it's going to disintegrate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as soon as the low finishes sapping up all of the nutrients and the energy, it's going to break off, do its own thing, and the Earth is going to die. All of the Alloy and the Oankali and the constructs, they all know this, but the humans. I want to know if they're going to eventually tell the humans or they're going to continue this cruel joke. And I wanted a perspective from somebody from Mars saying whether or not this was just, again, another simple distraction to keep the humans going, and give them something to do and look forward to while they take the floor from underneath them. That is what I wanted to see. That is what I wanted to hear. The second thing is, I also think that this Oloi construct is their karma.
Hmm.
I think that this is going to be their undoing, and how they think that the humans have a really bad contradiction between intelligence and hierarchy. I think their intelligence and their biological need is going to betray them in this front, because now they can no longer control what things are being expressed in their constructs. They can't even control the fact that they made an Oloi construct, and now these people are part human, part them, and then it's going to keep spiraling until, I don't know, the genes are so intertwined that the contradiction is there. I think they have their own contradiction, because Nakaj, a little spicy self, she's supposed to send them kids up to the ship, point blank, period.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they operate. That's what the consensus is. And she's thought, no, he's going to stay with me, or this is going to stay with me. So your loneliness is trumping consensus. You're not like that. That's not supposed to happen. I think that, their contradictions are coming out as well. And I agree with what you read, in that the Oankali aren't the answer. And if we, how they say, if you listen to somebody long enough, you'll start to hear truths. the longer we read about them, the more that we think, the more we see that, they're not all they shaped up to be. I was with them in the first book. They made solid points. After the second book, also solid points. Don't agree with leaving my buddy, with these resistors, but I was with them. Third book lost me completely. Um, I don't agree with them. I don't like them. I do agree that they are predatorial. They do make points that I don't really trust humans either, but they're not all that they shape up to be. And if they're solely driven by biology and intelligence, they made a lot of errors here.
Yeah.
And so I just don't agree. There's just, I don't know, if you, again, to my point and what I bring up, I feel like every series we read is that you can't just swing the pendulum either way and think that we're going to make a fix to this entire ordeal. Like there has to be either a healthy medium or something that we've never even fathomed that we have to think about in order to come together and fix what is broken in humanity. So, I mean, cool science, again, very cool, was with it. But I don't like nobody at the end of this book.
I think points taken. I think that one of the reasons why we're kind of in the place where we're in Imago is this is the FAFO book, right? This is the book that no one anticipated, or the body, the Jodis and the Aor, and then the other two that are coming. These are the bodies that the Owen colleague could not measure and anticipate, which ultimately had more control than any Owen colleague or any Uloi, right? And so I think that this book was largely exploratory, and also them realizing that this breeding experiment has gotten out of control. And that we gotta leave, because if we don't leave, they're gonna dominate us. You know what I'm saying? And so I think when Butler set out to initially write about a Mars colony and then realizing, oh, I can't put humans on Mars, but then trying to backtrack, she doesn't want to scrap another book. And then she's like, well, we have to do something. And ultimately, I think what she started to realize, as Canavan pointed out, that the human contradiction is the issue for her, but she could not write herself out of it, right? So the first one in Dawn, I think we're looking at them define the problem. And this is why you said, I'm with you. I was with them on that. And then the second book, we're kind of shaky because we see the problem still progressing, but we're also seeing more of the Owen colleagues' limitations and their short-sightedness. And now this book is like, you all were completely wrong. As a matter of fact, you all are also hierarchical, and you all just made a mess out of both Owen colleague and humanity.
Right. And then I'm also very, very intrigued in the nature of the entire idea of them using human cancer to evolve, right? Because now we have this colony of people who have neurofibromatosis. I think using our cancer is what's going to harm them evolutionary, like it's what's tying them to us, and again giving them this contradiction. And I want to see how that plays out. But again, to your point, because she is human, she cannot write herself out of this contradiction, so she cannot imagine a world without it. And I do agree. I just wish, I don't know, we could have pushed our minds, pushed our pens, made a group, a focus group. I just want to see what it's going to look like, especially with this new colony, right? Because you're just pimping mates at this point. You're just pimping mates. And this is just going to grow and spiral and grow and spiral. And I'm interested. I'm also annoyed. I don't have any resolution. I just think this is very, but great writing though.
Well, look, we didn't been through some stuff with Butler, through her first book, 1976, which was Pattern Master, and now we have been to the 90s. These books I think were published in the 80s, and we're going to 2005, the week after next. So I get it. Shanandi, Erica, hey.
Hello. So I agree with Tina where, I'm not a sci-fi person,
I'm
But
glad you stuck in
the
there.
writing drew me in. The writing
Okay.
really drew me in. Was I couldn't put the books down, but I did not like any of these people, any of these species, either species. I didn't like it even at the end of the book, because they were the Owen Collier are the true anti-heroes to me. They want to come off as, they want to come off as helpful, but they help by force. They heal by force. They make by force, but a gentle force that it woos the humans in, and it just, the pheromones start going, and they really can't resist. So yeah, I did not care for them at all, and I really, as the Tai Chi, as Tai Chi said, yeah, the construct Uloi are their karma, because even towards the end of this book, I got the sense that Jodas was, the way he was talking, he knew it. I'm sorry, got the sense that it knew that it was something. I
Yeah.
mean, it knew it was special,
Yeah.
but I feel like it got, it was because it was saying that, we represent true independence, like, so it's almost, I can see, in the future, and I wish there was another book, maybe 100 years into the future, I can see the construct Uloi totally remaking everything, and even evolving from what Jodas and Aor are. So I really think that this is their karma. This will be their karma. This will be their undoing almost. And the Uloi, I mean the Oankali, as we knew them at the end of this book, will look very different in 100 years, in 200 years.
And one even said, like, we're gonna be done by the time you all mature, right? We're on our way out. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
one Trinity, I'm glad you stuck in there.
I am too. I am patting myself on the back.
You should. You
And
should.
to answer your question about favorite series, for me it is and will always be Parable series.
Wow.
Yes, that is my absolute favorite of this series so far.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Ebony, my bad. I call you Erica every time. Ebony, my bad.
That's okay. It's all love.
What's up? What you
That's
got?
okay. So I want to say that this series could easily have been 6 books, 7 books, 8 books. It could have extended beyond these three, if she were alive this long. I think that this was her best series. I think it was better than the Pattern series because it was just a little more fleshed out. She created this world a little more better, I think, than the Pattern series. And I believe it had potential to go even further.
Okay.
I feel like,
You won't get my Roku back.
sorry, my kids are feral. So I feel like, I feel like, in this book, the main character, like Jodas, we saw in the second half of this book how he kind of came out of his shell and how he was trying to help his brother. And I just feel like how he just really transformed into his own person. And I feel like how he became that bridge between the Oncali and then the human people, even how he found them. But even in the first half of the book, as a PBS kid and trying to find the moral of the story, and how we try to change ourselves for other people, how they were the constant changers. The Oankali Ole didn't change their form, but it seems like these construct Ole change their forms constantly, and they can't control it. Even in the first half of the book, when Nikanj was asking him, why can't you control what you change into? And Jodas really couldn't answer, and neither could Eeyore. Eeyore almost changed into something that was non-existent of himself. He almost unalived himself. So we have to look within ourselves, and we're trying to find, people that we want to marry or be in a partnership with, that we can't want that so much that we lose ourselves. And so I feel like maybe the moral of the story is not wanting to want partnership so much that you can't figure out who you are as an individual.
That's good.
because that was never discovered in this book. They very much wanted, if you took a shot for every time they said mates, I don't know, you might have to call poison control because they said mates so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as an individual, who are you?
Yeah.
It should not determine who is around you to discover who you are.
Yeah, I really like this perspective that you just offered. One, because we do see them shape shifting into whatever their mate desires, right? Jodis specifically. You know what I'm saying? So he's becoming what their bodies are telling him that they want. But in terms of Aor, if he does not mate, he becomes an unrecognizable version of himself. He becomes like a slug. His eyes like melting off. I just think of like the little purple glue, if y'all ever watched Goosebumps, like the purple gunk that used to happen. That's what I think of Aor, right? Becoming this unrecognizable person. And to your point, who are you if you do, and who are you if you don't? You have to be clear about that. And I think that the construct Uloi did not have a point of reference, right? So they're becoming whatever. They're becoming both and in a way, but they have to mate. And I think, just to kind of move away from what you just said a little bit, remember Butler is kind of toying with the idea of we become what your biology says you become. Your actions are a direct result of your biological nature. And even if you don't want to do a thing, your biology is going to force that thing to do it, right? Now, I think about that in terms of like the clay arc bodies that we explored in Clay's arc. Once they got that organism in their genes, it was a wrap. They had to do what the organism wanted them to do. But I do like your reading and your suggestion for sure.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up was I was really glad that we did not get a description of Aor taking his mates and taking those two people. I was
Yeah.
really, really happy about that because I think that just would have just put me over the edge. I mean, I found I found like, so basically if you like, there is no other option. They're gonna be your mates regardless if they want to or not. If they're like, it doesn't matter who they are. I just need these two people, and that's what it's gonna be. It just, that sent me over the edge. And so when we got to that part, and then I realized, oh, we're not gonna go back and have a discussion or see like what actually happened. I was so happy.
Sorry, y'all. I did
Yeah,
something on the screen. I don't even know. Okay.
I
Yes.
would have.
Like
I
she
would have been.
like
I'm sorry.
like Ebony said, he was hungry. It just was like, I don't know. I just, maybe this is her thinking about the next book with fledgling in terms of vampirism. I'm like, my God, like, are you drooling? Like, it just was a
Well,
lot.
she did say, and I did this on the pay side of Substack, that he is a Doro. That Jodis, that's what her note says. He is a Doro. I dropped it in Substack last week. And so he's being driven by his nature in the same way that Doro, I hate to keep coming back to that man, but just because Butler linked him, I have to say it. That's like Doro's nature, drove him to those people. Jodis's nature did it. Mary's nature did it. I think this is a thread.
I would even
Mhm.
argue though that Jodis is Mary. Like the Owen Collie are Doro, but Jodis is Mary in the sense that Jodis is more complete because the Owen Collie had trouble with getting the humans to do what they wanted to do because the humans were ugly. But Jonas don't have a problem with doing that because he has the pheromones, and if you a man, he could become a woman. If you a woman, he could become a man. So Jonas, in my mind, he read more like Mary in the sense that he's more complete and he's dangerous.
And I think that, to your point, Yash, about Jodis being a Mary, I did have in my notes when when Jodis is mated and the conch is basically like tethers to him and gives him, what did I write? Mary-like activities, and how Nakanj can give Jodis all his memories like Mary's indoctrination program, right? So when Nakanj finds out that Jodis is mated, he's basically like, let me give you all my memories. Let me give you everything historically you need to know. And in that same way, we see Mary do that with the people she pulls into the pattern, right? The new pattern. And she gives them a complete reading of their history and everything they need to know. And so I can get with that. But she does say, I'm talking about specifically the hunger. The hunger part is the Doro-like part. But I also think it's also the Mary part. And we're going to hit probably Doro, Mary, and Jonas again in Fledgling when we're thinking about hunger.
So, for me, with Jodas's sibling, Aor, I really would have. I think I would have liked to see that construct Uloid not exist, for it to actually, disintegrate into nothing, to see what would happen. Because the only time you hear of the Oankali dying was when their human mates died. They died. They wouldn't live beyond their human mates, and it just seemed to me that they're this unstoppable force, and and so, and Aor with its like desperation, just this hunger and this desperation to mate, that it almost didn't even matter. It would have been attracted to whatever human it came upon, whatever male and female human it came upon, that would have been who it mated with. So it didn't even matter anymore. So and so just the inevitable nature of the Oloi, the Oankali, is just, I did not like that at all.
But let's
Just
think about it, though. I think to your point about you would want to see him, just basically turn to dust. But it was Jesus's idea to bring humans, right? So now we have this human saying, hey, no, don't let him suffer. Because it seemed as if Jodas was willing to do it, or the Oankali would have done it. But then we have the humans volunteering to kind of, I don't want to say pimp out, but
but they were so much under Jonas's control, though. I don't know. I
it gets
just would have
weird.
liked to see
They they
them
got a taste. They got a
disintegrate.
taste of being healed, though.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
they had
true.
all them sores and stuff on their body, and then when they got captured by Jodas, by like the next day, they didn't have it.
But
So like,
one thing I was interested in, and I don't know if you all picked this up, to Yash's point on the healing, like these are cosmetic things in a lot of ways, right? Not everyone had a cosmetic issue, but when we're talking about the lesions or the sores or even I think about leper colonies because we're gonna kind of hit leprosy in a way in her short stories. But like how much beauty or aesthetic or physicality matters in a place like this.
nuh-uh, because the Juisa's her brother, he like his leg didn't work and he was blind in one eye and deaf. Like that wasn't just cosmetic. That
No,
man was
I said not
suffering.
all of them, but I'm talking about the people who have the sores and who want to be beautiful. That's what
So
I'm talking about.
so the original Olin Collie that Nataj and that they from Dawn, and then even in adulthood, they were like cocaine. Like I'm gonna get a hit and I'm gonna go with this. These new Jodas and his people that came out of it, they like crack because it still took them. You can remember if you remember in Dawn, Lilith and I forgot what the guy's name was. They wanted it, but they also were resistant. Like she could go off and do everything else. They hooked. They're not doing that. They are like in it. I mean, and it's quick.
Talking.
Like he said, by the time they landed, everybody in the whole entire village was like, "Woohoo, yay! Make me some mates."
Well, yeah. So, okay, yes, right. But I'm really interested in I'm interested in how you all read. I know Shanandi said yes, they were under Nakanja's spell or whatever, but like this is kind of the dilemma we're in with Lilith too, right? And we're in with her, or maybe still in. I still got beef with her, but that's me. But she didn't have to bring him two mates because then she suggested, hey, y'all can actually get the mates, the brother and sister that we were supposed to marry, right? We got two for you. And I think I think the line in the book was like, why should he suffer? Why should Aor suffer? Not Jodis, not do anything for Jodis, but why should our family now suffer? So we will sell out the human race and we will give up the other humans to ensure that Aor does not unalive himself.
Well, I mean,
Okay, so I'm not understanding. I'm starting to understand your beef with Lilith, and I'm still saying not too much on her, but I'm starting to understand it because Lilith is that mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
She is that mother-in-law that knows that there is something wrong with her son, but she doesn't say it.
I'll say that.
She allowed Jesusa, and that's why Jesusa was very upset with her to become so attached to Jodis that she couldn't even, go out into the wilderness for multiple days. And that's why when Jesusa came back, she didn't talk to Lilith for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So in our own reality, we understand those mothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know your son's a narcissist, but you're not going to say nothing.
Right.
You know your son can be abusive, but he's still your baby boy.
Yep.
I understand the problem with that.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just what I'm saying, right? And then Butler kind of calls it out in the book. Like, here she goes again, betraying her own kind, or she's not saying what she should be saying. She's dropping clues, but she's not being direct, right? So in the same way, now we have Jesusa, right? Short for Jesus in a way, right? Doing the same thing, willing to be savior and for the Owen Collie.
She also is put in a precarious situation because she is very, very young. To Tina's point, there was a lot. This consent thing is crazy on both sides. She's very, very young, but because she's fertile, she was going to be married off at her young age as somebody that she didn't want to marry. So if she didn't betray her people, she would still be in the predicament where she's going to be a breeding farm until she dies and watch her babies die. And then in the same footing, if she was manipulated and attached to this being, and she's just like, hey, I've taken care of all the sick people in, my colony, and watching Aor go through that is wild. Like, I saw him before and what he looked like and what he looked like now. Like, that's crazy. And if that's going to reach to the point, like, how I read it is that she did it out of empathy, but she was struggling with herself because it was a catch-22 either way. And I don't know what I would do. I can't think. It gets sticky. It gets really sticky because I don't agree with her people and using her as a breeding farm at all. And I think like what Jodis was saying is that they were super young, even though they looked really old, and with the deformities, you couldn't really tell their age. But they were very, very young. And I think at that point, he was like 20 something. So if they were teenagers, that's wild.
So I'm looking at the chat and I'm looking at this. I'm going to respond to the chat. It's not, my issue is not her securing herself. Yes, be healed. My issue is you are selling out the rest of your people to ensure that the Owen Collie are secure. The Owen Collie are not going to sell themselves out. They're not going to do that, right? They're in consensus. They agree. They look out for themselves and their best interests. The humans, which is, I feel like it's this contradictory thing that's happening. Jesusa was healed. She was already made it. She did not have to go back to the humans. She did not have to lead them back to the colony. She did not have to, right? She had enough know-how, enough control over herself to understand, I don't have to do this, but now that I see the Owen Collie or Jodis or Aor as family, or, Jodis my mate, Aor my relative now in a way, I'm going to sell out the human resistors. I'm going to help y'all go to them. That's my beef there.
I agree. I agree with you on that. And she reminds me of a young, well, not young in years, but younger, inexperienced Lilith with the Onkali, because Lilith went from learn then run in Dawn to, I'm accepting my faith in adulthood rights to, I'm all in on the Onkali now, like, farming people out, and so to me she reminds me of She got there much more quickly than Lilith did, but she reminds me of Lilith in adulthood rights.
No, I agree. I
You know,
agree. And
so yeah, I don't, I'm with you on Lilith. I don't like how she turned out at
And
all.
Sam says, "Hey, Zeus knew the Owen Collie would have found them anyway." Well, let them. My thing is, let them find them anyway. Don't lead them
Exactly.
to them. They could sniff them out. They were going to hunt them anyway. I think when I'm thinking about you have made a decision, don't let the Owen Collie make a decision for them. You know what I'm saying?
So
But the
how much
reason
of
why
that is that she is not able to control though, because how much of that is just Owen Collie influencing her being so drugged by the Owen Collie pheromones or whatever they, whatever they're putting on her, putting,
Well, I think
whatever they're
Jordan
doing
said
to
that
her,
he
you
wasn't going
know.
to ask, right?
Right, he said he wasn't going to ask, but he maybe because he knew that he had already had her where he wanted her,
Maybe.
maybe, but yeah, but she could have fought a little harder to save her
And my
people.
whole thing is with them sharing themselves to when he was in that state to keep reviving him. Like they spent nights and nights and nights with this person. That's also manipulative. Like how I'm gonna let him die and I help revive him. What
Mm-hmm.
was the point of that day?
I just feel like life in the colony wasn't all that it's cracked up to be. Juisa was running the risk of being married off and bred, possibly raped by her husband, like when she didn't want to fornicate with him. Like I feel like it's the same decision that Lilith had. Like, do you want shit on the stick or do you want shit in your hand? And they picked shit on the stick.
But I think
Cause
go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm sorry.
and then like I understand like she definitely did sell her people out, but if life in the colony was that bad, like and even though they would be being essentially bred with the Owen Collie, at least with the Owen Collie, they're healthy.
Let's bring that back because we argued a point with the Owen Collie and the humans. Who told y'all to come save the humans? We argued against the Owen Collie coming down and imposing their healing on humans. Y'all remember this? It's the same
Yes.
argument we're walking into.
So what I'm gonna say is this: I feel like it is manipulative choice. As soon as Jonas got his hands on her brother and manipulated his neck, because that was a trap. He manipulated the trap and got that done, and then went in on there. His foot, I'm like, I fundamentally believe his genes and everything about him as a new construct is so different and is significantly more powerful than his predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
It is significantly more strong and everything else. I think by the time that you get to the point where you are now trying to make a choice, it's just like Josh said, it was, A, B, and C were late. You only had A, B, and C. There would be no other choices.
Mm-hmm.
There were no options. It wasn't as if she had any. I don't think that she was in a position to have any other choice.
Now,
Just
come
because of
on.
like laying with him and the whole like I'm him, he's a slug and it's
There's still
disgusting.
a choice.
Just
The
yeah.
humans felt the humans felt the impact of the decision, right? So even if we are put in a between a rock and a hard place, we still have a decision to make. Do we make this easier for them, or do we decide that my village needs the great Owen Collie saviors to come and save them? I think that this is a
I don't think that was the choice though.
colonization situation here. Hmm?
Yeah,
Don't
but I don't.
I think that both Jodas and Aor, once they found out that they both were okay, they were rubbing their hands together and was like, "Yep, we're good. We're gonna, be able to influence everybody." Once they found out that they both were healthy, they knew that they were gonna be able to subdue and then be able to influence all of them to be able to, once the shuttle came, they were going to be pacified enough to be acceptant of it. They were going to accept of it. They were glad that they were both alive and healthy because they were very eager and hungry for all of the sick people to bring their sick, and they were able to heal them. They just knew that even their scent was going to be able to turn even the most objective people into their way.
And I agree with you. And once they heal them, they inject something else to transform the gene, right? The genes are expressed differently in their children. So I think my resistance to accepting what you all are saying is that this is a colonization story. And the Oankali are the colonizers, and Jesusa and Lilith, these are the in-between people that are ultimately selling out the slaves. That are ultimately bringing.
I think that if he'd asked that question before he injected them with whatever it is that with his magic dust, I don't know what it is, whatever he was, the pheromones or whatever that is, then it would have been I think the choice that you are saying, I don't think that was even an option on the table. Because I don't think they were capable of making a choice that separated themselves or others away from the Oankali at that point. I don't think they couldn't. It's not just I don't think they could separate it. I don't think they could have actually made a choice other than this.
They couldn't have made a choice to leave. That is what is understood. They could not have left, but they did not have to bring others into it.
They also did not want to hurt him. Like if
so you're sympathizing with your colonizer then.
No, exactly. No, what I'm saying is like, okay, think about when they were in the jail, and all he did, I mean, he wasn't with them for what, like 10 minutes. He injected the 2 guards. The 1 guard flung his life, jumped in front of him to save his life. Oh, that's some powerful shit. Now that is not the time to colonize. There's not enough time to do some colonization at that point. But there's something chemically that's going on in his body that had to protect him.
Because he was bound to him. I'm not talking about the stingers. Let me walk this back. Let me paint y'all the picture so y'all can understand. I'm gonna walk back what I'm trying to say. Okay. We have a story of colonial rule. We have the Oankali believing that they have to civilize and transform the humans from their barbaric ways. I'm just going to put it in empirical terms. We have a superior race, or someone believing that they're superior, coming to colonize and to save these barbaric humans from destruction. The Oankali believe that they know what's best. We have to change your genetic form. You have to come and make us. We have to colonize you. We have to save you. Then we have people in the middle. We have the Liliths. We have the Jesusas. We have her brother. We have all of these people who have been who have benefited from being in proximity to the Oankali, right? Whether they've injected them, they've benefited in some way. We understand that these people are tethered to the Oankali by their decisions, or some people didn't have a decision in the beginning, right? As we argue with Lilith. I'm with that. My issue is that as the middle person between Oankali and human, you're human. You have been injected, so you're altered. I don't think it's right in the framework of the colonization story for the Jesusa and the Lilith, or let's not even talk about Lilith. Jesusa to say, let me bring you more people to further your plight. That's what I don't think.
So I understand everything that you said, and that's why I have painted both sides. I don't sympathize with the Oankali or whatever happened. I'm just saying that I understand how she got there. And it's a very, very messed up situation.
Agreed, but I just want us to hold her accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
Fine.
That's it.
If we
gotta hold Anyanwu accountable, we definitely gotta hold them accountable. That's it.
I would also argue though that even though Lilith, did what she did, or whatever you think she did, she was never really truly happy with the Oankali. Like all throughout the whole series, they said well, Lilith would go off into the forest and start screaming and crying and stuff, or she would try to leave, but she's tethered to Nakan, so she can't really leave. So it's kind of interesting that we have all this smoke for Lilith, but the way I read her, she was never really happy.
I don't think
she just went along.
I don't think happiness. I think we should think about loyalty and decisions, right? If you're not really happy, you don't have to keep going along. Or she could have told Jesusa. she was looking out for her son, like Ebony said, right? So my smoke with Lilith is that, one, you found out that they're not infallible. Two, you found out that there was some cracks in their genetic program, which you already knew. Three, you could have, this was your opportunity to warn Jesus and tell her the truth. Not, let them tell you. Let me let you F around and find out. You know what I'm saying? And as Butler wrote in the book, this is another instance where she's betraying them. Like, Butler herself didn't even let Lilith off the hook here, right? So all I'm saying is, while we can understand where they're coming from, how they arrived here, I still don't think it's right. And so I think that we still should hold, yes, as Ebony said, a flawed victim. I think we should still hold everyone accountable for the little power that they do have. That's all I'm saying.
I think that Lilith most definitely is a collaborator, because it took her, again, it just, you just think, I just keep thinking about how long did it take this person to be indoctrinated? What stuff had to happen, what had to go, or whatever else. Definitely the colonization that you talk about. She is a collaborator, and she knows that, like the fact that her and Tino came back and said, if you don't do this, if you do this, they're gonna hate us. Like, so they're fully aware of, like, they're consciously aware and understand what it is. Like, they do have choice, and I agree. They're probably, Lilith and Tino probably are the in between, but Jesusa and Tomas, I don't think so. I think that they, because of the nature of who this latest construct is, that they don't have the same. I think that the indoctrination is deeper, it's faster, and I don't think that they have the facilities in the same way. I just don't. I think that if they, and the other people that are in the middle will be like the resistors, who now are saying they're gonna make with Olin Kali, like Tino did. Like, he's a resistor, but then he was seeking them out. So you do have some true in between people. I agree with that, but I don't think that these last two are that Tomas and Jesusa.
But Lilith's bottom line was always her
She was
kids.
wrong.
But Lilith's bottom line was always her kids. That like,
Yep.
so like, I feel like past book one, she didn't, like, yes, she cared and she was with him and all of that, but at the end of book one, the Kanj impregnated her. So I feel like after she got impregnated, it was a wrap. Because she's, at that point, she's a mom, like, and she feels like she needs to, like, mother these kids that she's having.
So last week when I read from Canavan's book, which says that, and I'm going to reread it, y'all gave me pushback, and I want y'all to understand that y'all are agreeing with exactly what I said and what he said. I just read it to you. It says, Lilith spent so much of dawn hoping to catch the Oankali in a lie or in an error, but when the moment that their omnipotence is disproved comes in Imago, she has become too committed to them in their larger project to care. This is when I brought up Anyanwu. She was too committed to the project to leave it. And y'all was like, hell no, we won't go.
Hell no, we won't go.
We had to see it process through. Well,
I
so
still think
I was there with her and her her biogenetic connection with Nakash, and she can't leave him. So we know that that's true. But however, she doesn't have this genetic pool with her offspring. Her offspring that has made it. So that's where I differ, because when you is Hannibal Lecter, you can't unleash him on the community.
You cannot.
Take your Hannibal Lecter.
And he don't have anything down there, so yeah. Thank you, Ebony. Yes, cut it out. She's not finna stay on the run.
She could have stayed a dolphin. I agree with that.
She could have stayed a dolphin though. Like, Anyamu is separate in my mind because she was doing fine on her own. Lilith was not doing fine on her own. Juisa was not doing fine on her own. Anyanwu was doing fine on her own.
Oh, y'all, cut it out. Okay.
I can see both. I mean, I can see where they were both Lilith and Yanwu had the motivation in the beginning of their kids being the reason why they wanted, they stayed in this monstrous situation. Granted, yes, Lilith didn't really have the freedom of movement that and Yanwu did, but then both I think came to a place where not of just acceptance of the horrible situation, but not just acceptance, but actually buying into their circumstances and buying into the situation and changing from just I'm here for my kids to now I am dumb. I'm here for the mission, and I want the mission to succeed.
I want the mission to, and that is exactly what I was saying about Anyanwu last week, and y'all gave me hell. She's committed to the mission. And we could say Stockholm Syndrome. We can say, I just want us to understand that these characters are getting to this same point, maybe from different angles, but they're coming the same way. Indy says, what about Lauren? She was committed. Oh, she was definitely committed. She was committed to the end.
My fave was committed.
She was so committed. She went. It was her daughter or her, and she said, "It's my daughter. It's the project. It's Earthseed." So yes, she was definitely committed. Okay, we didn't went around the world. Do y'all want to go to the question? Or y'all got something else y'all want to talk about? We got less than 30 minutes, so 20 minutes on here. I think one of the things that I'm interested in, and when we're thinking about Jesus, or we're thinking about the first woman, right? Who was great and who they discovered accidentally that she could bear children. And then as a result, they begin to immortalize her and have these acts of incest or commit these acts of incest. And I'm really interested in how y'all saw like women being used and their bodies being used in this story. Like, and the reason why I thought about this is on the point where they're talking about, the woman, the first mother or whatever, and how they go from using her body as a tool to kind of trying to immortalize it under this religious backing. But I think religion had nothing to do with it, right? They're immortalizing this woman. They're worshiping her ashes in a way. But I don't think it's a religious function. You know what I'm saying? Like her body's a tool to me.
Right. It's
Fascinating character to me.
Sorry.
So go ahead, Cena.
It's the justification of doing evil. You got to make it into something. An evil act happened, and then after the evil act happened, you need to perpetuate the evil act because now you're going to make her do incest, which is against the Bible since they rewriting the Bible all the time. So I just think that it's like one of the biggest atrocities of the adulthood and now this thing again is you have knowledge beyond just making guns and rape, but for somehow those two things become core in all these human towns. It becomes core. Guns and rapish stuff becomes core, and it's expected, and then nobody should say anything. Like if like you're going to be married off to whoever we think you should be married off to, and you're going to just be producing you're going to be producing as many children as possible.
Deformed or not.
Bred out one after another. Gonna keep doing it.
I wonder is Butler making a comment on who we are at our core, like the worst part of humanity? When people get desperate enough, is this what she believes humans will do and result to?
I feel like I get the sense that what came across to me is at the core of who we are is the drive, the elemental drive to survive. And so we will do not as a species and as the aliens, both the humans and the Oankali had this drive to survive that would make us do the most heinous things, and to make sure that that we perpetuate ourselves and that we keep going as a species and as as a world. It's so this whatever it took, they were willing to do it. no matter, and in normal times, quote unquote, normal pre-war times, things
Right.
that would have seemed so, unthinkable.
Hmm.
Now they're in this situation of survival. They find themselves doing these heinous things.
Hmm.
I think
That brings me
Unpopular
back.
oh,
That brings me back to what I was saying at the end of our discussion last week about the women of the resistors and how they are tolerating being trafficked, being raped. And it's like, why are you dealing with this? Because the other people look like you. And it's like, you have to figure out, is it worth it? Is it worth being trafficked? Is it worth being raped? Is it worth whatever cause you're trying to be? If you're going to be healed, you're going to live longer. I don't know. It kind of just seems like somebody said last week, it's between a rock and a hard place.
Hmm.
I don't think we
that's kind of why.
necessarily. No, go ahead.
Taichi, let Yash go because
Yeah, go
her
ahead.
phone finna die.
Um, I think that, like, to a couple sentences ago, I think that's why I enjoy Clay's arc so much, because that man, I forgot his name, but he was trying so hard to survive. He was willing to leave his kids there, let his kids die. One of his kids got we ain't gonna say what happened, but then even that, the organism was in her body and it was doing this thing so hardcore. She wanted that human contact, even though it was a horrific scene. But if you go back and reread it, I know it's hard, but she was kind of laying there letting it happen because the organism was making her so horny that, like, she kind of just needed it to happen in
Who are you
Clay's arc.
talking about?
I'm
Kira?
talking about I'm talking about the daughter that got
The cancer?
gang raped.
Rain.
If you go back and reread, I'm sorry, y'all. I know y'all don't want me to talk about that, but if you go back and reread that, she kind of laid there and let it happen because that organism that was in her was making her need the human contact. So I think that Butler does push us to a point of being uncomfortable, one, and two, like, what will you do when it comes down to living or dying?
That's my point there. That is the question that I've been trying to get us to. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to sell out? Are you willing to accept things? Are you willing to side with your oppressors? I think she's put us all in uncomfortable situations over these last 10, 11 books. I think 11 books, if I'm not mistaken. And we have had to grapple with that question. What are you willing to do and what line are you willing to cross? Taichi, go ahead.
I was just gonna make a point about the female body and what is being used for and survival and all that other stuff. My whole thing is I don't think we have to be in survival mode in order for these things to play out, and I don't think this is only Butler's idea. If you go to Margaret Atwood's, Handmaid's Tale, everyone thinks this about us. So I'm like, this must be true. Because everyone is saying this. This is not just Butler's idea. It's a universal concept that when it gets down to it, the women are expendable, and they will sell you an idea that you have to do this in order to further us when no one else jeopardizes themselves.
Yeah.
And it's the whole idea, well, you hold the womb so you can bring life, so you have to automatically sacrifice yourself in order to do this thing. Or now that we're not in survival mode just yet, I mean, depending on who you ask, but right now, even then, like, we're making women feel bad who don't want to bear children. We make women feel inadequate who can't bear children, without even knowing. Like, that is the propaganda going around, that you're not contributing to society if you're not doing these things. All of this legislation is getting down for you to make a choice, or for you to be safe with the choices that you do make, surrounding this idea that your room should be public. We should be able to use that if we need to. We should be able to procreate if we need to, and you should be willing to do this. You should love to do this. And so I mean, I don't think it's Butler's commentary. I think that's social commentary. I think that is true of, everything that we're seeing now. And I think, when times get rough, things are going to get spooky.
Very scary. I heard someone say, ask a woman, what you gonna do when there ain't no more laws? Because they're overturning a lot.
Right.
There's I think that with the adulthood, going back to that book about the subject you just said, when you realize that these people who are resistors, they cannot produce children. Like that is not going to happen to them. But the act of raping, like there are going to be people who are just running around trying to trade women, and that women have made the decision not to go with the Oankali, but to stay with these men, and that these men are selling them off,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
negotiating with them, giving up their, doing all of this harm. That was very distracting or very upsetting. Just the idea that, okay, so I'm going to stay with you, and when I stay with you, that means we are in this relationship, or we're together, or we're family, or whatever the circumstances are within that coupling. But now there's somebody who comes through who wants to trade, and they want a woman, and they're saying like, okay, we got this kid thing, looking this construct, we're going to trade this in so we can get us a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're not okay, we're going to get us a woman, just
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because what is it? It's sex and war.
Yeah, we're going to get and we got, we're going to make guns. I just that just was so
Yeah,
disappointing.
sex and war, and wars have been fought over women,
Yeah.
right? And kingdoms have come down over women, right? So yeah, no, I think that it is a scary place to be in as a woman in these worlds that Butler created. More specifically, in this world where the men are feeling some type of way because they're not at the top of the food chain. The Owen Collie are. So as a result, even if they were already violent, they're even more violent because their position in society has shifted. Um, and the only people that they can one up on is a woman. But they still need these very women in a lot of ways, but they're willing to inflict some of the worst harm on the female body. And I'm thinking about when the first mother was mated to her son, and that act of incest, and how it's like, oh no, this is your duty, it is your duty to do this thing, it is your duty to bring forth this thing, even if you have some type of moral conflict, it is your duty, lay back and do your duty, um, for us to have life. I always think of, and with that being said, I'm thinking about the contributions and the sacrifices women have made throughout time to continue lineages, to continue families. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't get easier. And I think this one was a hard one. Um, just based on how Butler, she was a little bit graphic in what was happening, right? These women are not escaping. These women have psychological issues. And yeah.
And even the thing I was thinking about too is how the women are, put upon and say this is your duty to do this, but how the men, even though the Owen Collie didn't want to create too many construct males, but the men were still catered to, in the fact, even with the one instance that they talked about when Jonas was mating with Tomas for the first time, and he said he had to let him act like he was moving because men needed to feel like they're moving, and when they're mating, to feel, to still have that sense of, manliness, quote unquote, or control, or whatever it was,
Yeah.
that, so the men are, even in that situation, the Owen Collie found a way to cater to the men, to get them to, they were going to accept it either way, but they wanted them to feel good about it, so they gave the men that part to still feel like they were men. But
Yes.
while the women were like, this is your duty to do this, and you must
Yeah.
have children.
Yeah, I stand by the fact that men are more emotional than they think. I stand by that. Right.
Absolutely.
I do. I
Men and
stand
people
by that.
that.
Just look at Francesco and the story and how he just kept getting beat up and he couldn't keep his mouth shut. Like, men are definitely emotional.
When you said wars were fought over women, um, and that's a common saying, and I really think they're fought over ego. They just use a woman as an excuse. For instance, Helen of Troy, which she probably looked as mediocre as they come. I really do not believe she was a baddie. Anyway, her, and it's just like, well, you could have just let her. You could have just let her go off. If
Yeah.
that's what she wanted to be with, you could have let her. There'd be no wars. Everything would be cool. Y'all fought a how many years war, putting boys and men at expense for what? For ego. So when they're just like, yeah, men fight over women. No, I think you fight over ego. There's very seldom, I don't know, there's seldom an instance where it's justified. It's always like something you could have walked away from, but you just had to be there. You just had to stay. So I don't know. Men are very emotional. I do agree with that. They're more emotional than men, and it's actually dangerous. Not to say that we're not dangerous, because I find women also very dangerous, but them is just, I don't know. It's different.
I've honestly felt since Wild Seed, so I'm going back like hella books. But Wild Seed made me feel like Octavia Butler thought that it was men's nature to dominate and it was women's nature to adapt. Because Doro was just this super dominant figure, control, you do what I say. And then Yanwu, who arguably was equally as like powerful, she just kind of went along to go. She adapted. Like Doro's nature was like, I'm a body snatcher. If you piss me off, if you hit me, I'm just gonna kill you. Versus Anyamu was like, I'll just turn into a dolphin. I'll just turn into a white man. I'll just do this. Like
Well, I think
changing yourself to get along with whatever is going on outside.
Yeah, I think that we kind of came to that consensus. Like, I don't know what book that we came to that. Like, it's not necessarily women's nature to harm, right? Not instinctively. We're kind of like, we'll avoid it. We try to, do those things. But I guess what Butler has been showing us is like naturally, by nature, by biology, these men are dangerous. And if you take away their hierarchy, they get even more vicious
Can
toward.
I just a little bit of pushback on that, because I feel like that's almost a cop out is for men to be, oh, say it's, I can't help it. I'm biologically predisposed to do this and to be violent. I think they're biologically, they can be biologically stronger, yes, but they're not biologically predisposed, I don't think, to dominate and to harm. I feel like that is absolutely a social construct. That because it's the patriarchy 101. I just feel like it's more socially constructed than biologically developed.
Thank you, Sharmondi. I do feel like there's no incentive to be a decent human being. Like there's
Right.
little incentive.
Yeah, what I mean by that is I'm just thinking about the differences between men and women, going off of what Yash said, right? Men, or what, Yash, what did you say about women adapting and men doing what?
I said that it's more, and of course, not all men, but I'm saying it's more of men's nature to try to dominate something, and it's more of a female instinct to just try to adapt to whatever is happening.
Okay. Yeah. So I was going off of what Yash was saying, right? Like naturally hierarchical people. I'm not saying it's right. Right. I think that's horrible. Everything we've been reading, especially the violence that have been inflicted on women's bodies historically. But what I'm saying, going from Yash's perspective, Butler has been kind of showing us that. We think about Adoro. We're thinking about, I'm trying to go through all the men we've encountered in the series. So we think about what Blake did. We think about Eli trying to resist, right? Going off of what Shanandi said, not wanting to do this thing, but being driven by his biology to do this thing. His new biology, I should say. What other men have we come into contact with, y'all?
I mean, It's men in every story. It's the daddy from Survivor. He was a piece of shit. I mean, ish. Sorry.
Okay, yes. Uh,
But honestly, the only man that Octavia Butler wrote that I really liked from start to finish. It's a short list. Akeem, Bankoli. That's it. Like the rest of the men was kind of not all that.
okay, but yes. I was just trying to get us a list of male characters we have just encountered to kind of compare and see
His
how they.
husband was just clueless.
Who? Who? Ebony?
Dana's husband, he was just
And
clueless.
it,
I was
oh,
thinking about him too.
Kevin?
Kevin, ooh, I hated him.
I- Y'all didn't let Kevin make it. I swear. Y'all didn't let Kevin make it. Ah, man, we got 1 minute. Y'all, this has been good. We never get to the questions. I don't even know if I need to craft questions for fledgling. We are reading fledgling in 3 parts. We are done next week, so we're not meeting next week. Sorry, but we are reading fledgling, which is a standalone novel. Butler only wrote 2, Kindred and Fledgling. And we're going to vampirism. Let me see if I can find something real quick. Do y'all got any closing thoughts?
I think you should go ahead and write them questions. I like perusing them and thinking about them in my, off time.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I do the
I
same
go back and
thing.
read them after sometimes. So yeah, so I would appreciate the questions
Yeah, we want your
if it's okay
questions.
with you.
and I have a question. Are these questions that you kind of had to like think about while you were, in the course, like trying to do everything with Octavia Butler, or are you coming up with these questions there yourself?
Oh, I come up with them.
They're very complex. I like the questions.
Thank you. Like some
My
of
husband,
them, no. Only one book that I taught in a grad seminar came exactly from that seminar. But the other ones I have to kind of read ahead and remember what we're about to talk about. Uh,
uh,
go ahead.
just so you know, I take the questions that are really good and I pose them to my husband, not about the book in general. We have great discussions, so it's been a great time for me.
Okay, okay, okay.
Oh,
Uh,
and I just have to say, Dr. Bree, you did not ask me my favorite book.
okay.
It
I'm
was
sorry. I didn't. What you got? What you got?
I enjoyed this series the most because it felt the most complete and the most fleshed out, and I like that we just followed one family as opposed to the patternist being all over the place.
Mhm.
But I think that her best writing were parables. I know that she wanted to put us in space and get all weird and stuff, but I feel like her writing was the best when it was just grounded on Earth without a lot of extras added to it.
Okay. I think that's fair. Sorry I didn't ask you. Did everybody else tell me their favorite?
No, I wrote it in the chat, but mine is patternist because
Mine too.
I had a lot to say, and it was that one really got me riled up. Everything kind of seemed like, okay, we can see bits and pieces of what she did there in the other books. And I mean, when she created Doro, she was in her Birkin, okay? Because we can't let go of him and he can't let go of us. And
We
I feel like that is the mark of a very, very, very strong character, okay? A very strong one. Now, I love the science in this one. I love the science in
I
this.
think you're gonna love fledgling then.
I feel like everybody keeps telling me that.
For the science and the STEM
Yeah,
part of it,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I
I
think
love
parables
that.
is my favorite because I identify a lot with Lauren. Um, I just I see a lot of Lauren in me. So I think that's why I really like the parables series the most.
That's fair. I'm trying to. Someone asked me to create a poll. Somebody go while I try to figure out where to poll it. Was somebody gonna say something?
I don't know if Ebony told us her favorite. Did you, Ebony? I don't remember.
I don't know. All right, hold on, y'all. Let me do this real quick.
Y'all gonna hate me, but Clay's Arc was my favorite book. As crazy as it was,
That's crazy. That's
That's
crazy.
the one I'm not reading again. Please, Heart.
it
No,
was a
ma'am.
horrible, uncomfortable book, but it made me think really, really hard.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, let's see. We got patternist. Then we got parable. It's gonna be B. And then xenogenesis. I'm just gonna put xeno for short. It's going to be C. Say, ooh, I swear I could spell. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Xeno. Now, how do I get it to y'all? Let's see where we at. Did y'all see it pop up? The ghetto. I just saved it. Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on. Edit poll. Duration 2 minutes. I think y'all can do it in a minute. All right. It should pop up somewhere. Oh, did y'all see it pop up up there? Left. Okay.
I'd be kind of wishing that
Actually,
Earthseed was a real religion. It was some good stuff in there. You know, without all the God stuff, I'm like, yeah, like let's live off the land. Let's not be wasteful.
Yeah.
Let's be more communal. Like Lauren would have got me. I would have joined.
Yeah.
yep. I think the result is recency bias. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Oh, wait. I didn't see it. Oh, we're done?
This coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it's done.
The xenogenesis folks are saying, well,
Recency
wow.
bias.
Xenogenesis is number 1. That's generally people's favorite from her anyway. Parable is the number 2 generally, and patternist is number 3. I love patternist. I'm sorry. So there y'all go for the poll. I wanted to read this to y'all real quick from the archive to just kind of get you, get your juices flowing, your thoughts flowing as we begin pledging in 2 weeks. It was originally supposed to be labeled memory, flesh, bone, and blood. Memory, flesh, bone, and blood. And I'm going to give y'all a little quick quote to kind of set the scene for you from the archive. She says, "This is a story of a woman seriously injured by unknown enemies and repeatedly attacked by them as she struggles to heal, to create a safe home for herself, to learn from her past, find her people, defend herself, and avenge her history. She looks backwards into darkness, nothingness, no security, no comfort, no knowledge on which to base judgments or plans or even hopes." The reason why I wanted to read those two, that quote to you, is because you're gonna feel like you're in Lilith's situation in Dawn when we first encounter her. Disoriented, you don't know what's going on, and I want you to know that you are in the mind of an amnesiac. Once we open this book, you're in the mind of an amnesiac, right? So you will feel disoriented a little bit. Butler does take her time to make you feel, see, smell everything that the protagonist is feeling, seeing, and smelling. There will be some uncomfortable scenes in this book, as with other books, so I do want to warn you all about that. And yeah, we're in a vampire world, and Butler says she wanted to write a vampire novel that was not Anne Rice. So, she be shady. I do kind of low key be nervous to share certain things on the Substack about her thoughts on like real life events, because I'm like, I don't know if I should out her like this, but Butler is very shady in her archive. She has some very harsh words for Clarence Thomas. Yeah, she has some harsh words for a lot of people. I don't know if I should.
As she should.
Yes, you should. Like,
I'm feeling to
Give
see
it
if
to
she's
us.
wrong. I'm trying to see where she wrong at.
I mean, she go out there, okay? She gives it to people. So I may just drop the images. I may not add any commentary. I'm just gonna drop the proof and move on. Cause she got a lot of critique about a lot of people, black women writers, Toni
Need that.
Morrison.
We need that.
we
I've
like
heard
here
some.
for the
I've heard some
tea.
Toni
Here for the
Morrison
tea.
critiques too. I've heard some. What is her name? Nora
Who?
Hurston.
Oh, Zora.
Oh, sorry, Neil
Hurston.
Hurston.
Sorry. I've heard some critiques about
Oh yeah.
too.
Yep.
And how they be sitting there going to the south and getting stories and coming up and passing them as their own. To them, I've actually debated this, and I want to know. I guess we'll talk about it later, but yeah, I have debated this on whether or not they're right, whether or not they're sitting there passing off the South as their own experience, even though they came from the North, yada yada yada. How they write Southern characters is perpetuating that dumb Southern stereotype, yada yada yada. And then I'm just like, okay, but who gonna publish it though? So the publishing houses is up north that's willing to work with the colored folks. So where your story's getting out anyway. Okay. But that's a different debate for another day. It's all perspective, but I've heard the critiques and I welcome them. I love Toni.
I think I'll drop some stuff. Within over the next few days. That's not book related. I'll drop some stuff.
I like it.
Let's see. Spill her tea behind the paywall since I say because I can't wait to dive into reading everything. I feel like I should with that. I don't know. I don't want to get sued by the estate, to be honest, for certain things because they will come after you. I've seen it done. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see how I can do this. I'm gonna use wisdom with it, and I'll drop. I'll start the drops. I'll start the drops.
Well, let me pay my little coin because I want to see this.
Your little $10. Come on, y'all support you. But yeah,
My $10 already there.
I appreciate it. All
Give
right,
me that.
No, Valerie, I can do it behind the paywall. Like that's not the issue. I don't want to put it, out there and have the estate come from me because I ain't got no job. But anyway, I will be dropping non-related fledgling stuff first, and then I'll start dropping the fledgling receipts. I have way more images of fledgling than I realized because I was writing an article only when I was at the archive. So I'll drop all that, and I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Fledgling.
All right.
All right,
Bye.
good night, y'all.
Bye, everybody. I'm going to miss you. Have a good week.